Okay, so today's random starter. I did get my copy of the new Shantae because I backed that on Kickstarter. It actually plays on my machine. I was kind of expecting it to not be able to. And it is a very... If you've played a Shantae game before, you know what's going in, and you won't be disappointed. It is a very solid, action-y platformer, explorer-y, with about 1 billion different transformations for exploring and finding more stuff. And it is very nicely animated.
I made a vomiting gnome on Shapeways.
There are no vomiting gnomes in this game. I don't think anybody barfs in this game.
It's not a common gameplay mechanic, at least not past
No.
the 1990s. I'm sure there was some game on the Sega Genesis where you proceeded by vomiting.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there was Booger Man.
Oy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The topic for our let's get some stuff out here and just randomly jabber about things. A couple days back, I caught up on Nick TMNT. It's a series that I tend to watch in bursts because it grabs my attention enough for me to want to keep up with it, but it doesn't hold it enough for me to want to keep up with it as it goes. I'll leave it for a couple months and then go, oh yeah, there's probably been some new episodes. I don't know, I better go check on that.
Mm-hmm. I'm like that with the Ultimate Spider-Man. But
tonight we're going to be talking TMNT.
Yeah.
And I swear, Nick TMNT, I'm not sure I've ever seen a show shit the landing so often on plot arcs.
That is its Achilles heel.
Achilles heel up to the knee, really.
Because everything else the show does, it does great. The creature design is, with a couple of exceptions here and there, really good.
It's started this last season has started doing things that have kind of made me go on a large scale. But yeah, but go on with what you were saying.
It's fun loving. It draws from all of the different eras, and in terms of general quality, I mean, it's the best Ninja Turtle series we've gotten.
Yeah, it's not afraid to shake things up.
Yeah,
redesign. But this last season in particular, well, first of all, I'm wondering where the hell any police officers are.
Yeah.
The character designs for anything new has gone from clever and cartoony to just gross and unreadable.
Mm-hmm.
Super Shredder, was it Scumbug? Was that who that was supposed to be?
Yeah, Scumbug. The new Scumbug has a really terrible design. Someone on that staff likes to make like really twisted insect mismatches. Because there was the giant one they had like a season or two back. Like the giant horrible insect thing that had like a second head that extended out of its intestines or whatever.
I only dimly remember that. It clearly didn't make that much of an impression on me.
But it was the same sort of like there's no cohesion here kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of random bug parts that we've slapped together into a hideous thing. The army ants...
Super Shredder's much the same way.
Yeah. Like, the army ant worked fine.
Yeah.
That's more my style of mutant.
And I mean, even Baxter is fine.
Mm-hmm. It's... Yeah.
It works comedically to have that big giant head on that stick body.
Yeah. But, yeah, I can see where you're going with the creature design having gotten really messy and oozy.
That only works for Muckman, which, where the shit is he?
Yeah, you'd think they'd do more with Muckman.
You'd think they'd do more with anybody, because, okay, I don't really have a form for where I'm going, but okay, so one of the latest, I think the last episode, we have the culmination of April's psychic power thingy, which started last season. and was just kind of there to give April something to do, I guess. That's one thing that this show has never done well. It's got a good setup for using April, but never really
April winds
uses
up
her.
being far too divorced from the human world.
Yeah.
When she was the channel 6 reporter April from the Fred Wolf Tunes always had a reason to be out and about in the world because she was a reporter. And you would think that there would be at least some play to April having to go to school and things of that nature.
See her father at any point in time.
But she's just kind of floated free of that, and I'm sure.
And we still don't know anything about her origin. We just know they're involved with the Krang. Okay, so you let that float for 4 seasons now?
Yeah. It's again.
It doesn't. This show doesn't do well with its female characters.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't tend to. I liked how they handled Venus.
Yeah. For a guest, star, that's
Yeah.
about what you can expect. It's recurring ones, but okay. So, like I said, we've got the culmination where her psychic powers are overtaking her because aliens,
Mm-hmm.
and she demolecularizes Donnie.
Yep.
And how do we end the episode? Makes it easy. She just reassembles him. Because, you can do that.
See, that's the type of
If this show had any spine, we would then go... It wouldn't work. We would then go a couple episodes without Donatello. And what we would do is follow April in trying to learn to work her psychic powers, maybe using the assistance of, I don't know, the psychic mutant that they've known since season 1?
yeah. Monkey Brains.
Why has not Monkey Brains been involved in
the April stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, ever.
As a trainer, or at the very least, as someone they bring in to try to fight her brain to brain.
Yeah, or in this case, getting, if we went with the Donnie thing, you could even stymie it by saying, look, my thing is technological, this is alien, this is on another level, I can help, I don't have answers, though.
Plus, if you had Donnie get disappeared into some sort of psychic realm, there's all sorts of things you can do to bring him, to go get him that would make for an interesting quest. Having everyone astral project into some sort of weird dimension, maybe have another throwdown with the Dream Beavers.
Yeah. And okay, Splinter should be a bag of cream corn at this point.
He is.
This is something I've started to notice, that they're really, aside from the body horror that they've been pushing, they've been pushing grievous injury that people just shrug off.
Yeah.
Amazingly. Splinter should be spread out across a couple miles.
Mm-hmm.
What's with the Undercity? Did we ever get an explanation as to what that was?
No.
It's just there.
No. It seems to be a reference to the insectoid-created Undercity that existed in the 2000s Fox Turtles.
But there's no explanation for it in this one.
At least not so far, yeah. There's just an ancient Undercity, and the Rat King hung out there. I was surprised, spoilers, a little bit, to find out that they actually had the balls to kill the Rat King.
Yeah. Because they tend to like leaving mutants and they just kind of vanish. We haven't seen Snakeweed or Spider-Bite in forever. We haven't seen what's up with Neutralizer.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, yeah, which is part of the ongoing thing. It's like, okay, Splinter's fallen, Super Shredder is alive. Why not call in the Mutanimals? This show doesn't seem, at least this series in particular, now that you've got 48,000 mutants,
they seem to forget about them pretty easily.
Yeah. I like that we managed to swap back and forth between Razar and Fishface and Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah. No, they handle the villain mutants pretty well.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I do think would make the whole thing a little bit stronger in those terms is it would be to really, if it's a budget thing, which usually with that type of thing it is, save it for the season enders when you want to do the really big thing, and then pull out like all the mutanimals and so forth. You have no idea how much during the Krang invasion I wanted to see all of the mutants that they'd recruited so far go up against the Krang. Up
Yeah.
to and including Sparrow Wizard. Because
Well, I
having
mean, you
a...
don't even need to have them talk. I mean, all you need is one scene with just the models, and they're wandering off into the sewers, and just say, "Okay, the mutanimals will have our backs."
Right. And in the
That's
big fight
all you
scene, you
need.
just have shots of them fighting whatever, keeping stuff off
Mhm.
their backs. Um,
They've done this in past episodes, where actually it was Spider-Bite and Snakeweed were among the mutants that didn't have lines.
yeah, when they were escaping from the Krang prison with Neutralizer.
Yeah.
But this is not to say that it is a bad show.
No, no. It's started to get it's in that level. It's in that area where it is a good show that is getting a little frustrating
Yeah,
because it's not living up to not just its potential,
but earlier
but
seasons.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's... I think it does need some kind of shake-up, which is always dangerous with Turtles, because then you wind up with certain other things that have happened in the past that weren't terribly great. Because
Fast
nobody
forward.
wants to relive the Image comic Turtle era that much.
No.
Although some of the things from that I did actually think were interesting ideas. I love the idea of Raphael just going, "Screw it, I'm going to become the new Shredder and take over the Foot." Um,
Well, that's where we've got Karai at the moment, who I'm pretty sure by this point in the series has been kidnapped and used as bait more than the Fred Wolf April O'Neil ever was.
yeah, which is a pity because she's got those cool snake powers.
Yeah.
But
And teenage Bayonetta, who is very uncomfortable.
yeah. Whew. Yeah. When we were kids, they would make that character in the show that was, dressed and proportioned like that
An
older.
adult.
Yeah. Yeah. Not just an adult, but like confirmably like in her late 30s, like the Baroness.
Yeah. Yeah, not a probable 15-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
that's...
betting she's not going to get an action figure.
Mm-hmm. Probably not.
Actually, have we heard anything about new action figures? Because we haven't seen any new Turtles figures on shelves in forever.
I'm sure there's stuff coming. I mean, Playmates literally has like one other thing keeping it afloat right now.
Didn't they get another license just recently?
Ben 10.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was particularly irksome because I have my thing about wanting figures in relative scale, and Playmates is way better at that than Bandai. I'm like,
But not by a lot.
but not by a lot. But the problem is, the new series has really shitty monster designs. So my plan to get I'll just get the Playmates versions of the monsters I like best from Ben 10.
See, at this point, we're going to pop up one of those suggested videos things on the YouTube video, those fancy dancies.
Oh, and our thing where I bitch about Ben 10 for an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to Turtles, I mean, anybody who follows my art and stuff knows that I dig Turtles. I mean, I draw animal people that are not fucking and aren't telling jokes. So clearly there's some Ninja Turtles influence there. But yeah, the new series is by far my favorite. It just has some frustrating limitations.
Frustrating limitations and frustrating... Some of this isn't even limitations. This is just not quite trying.
Yeah. Don't know what it is. They just can't ever stick the ending to a story arc in a satisfactory way.
I can't think of one that they ever did. I mean, there's a ton of makes it easy involved in these.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Krang invasion, Donnie just magically teleports them away and they're gone forever now, except for when we need them for a crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, are we worried about having two sets of turtles after the space jump and Splinter dead? No, okay, no. Splinter magically survives this time and we'll take the other turtles out into space.
creating a weird, not stable time loop.
Yeah.
Well, that probably explains where Renee's been the past entire season.
True.
Just fixing the paradox.
I would have so much respect for the writers if they did that. Just have Renee pop up. Yeah, guys, do you realize how much you boned the time stream here?
Oh, but what it brings me back to is the 2000s era Fox Turtles.
This is something you've kind of wanted to kvetch in public about for a while.
Yeah, yeah. The show itself, and this is the thing, I know it was very much intended to follow the black and white Turtles comics, to be the animated sort of version of those. Obviously updated and changed, but that was where they were pulling most of their DNA for that series, was from the Mirage comics. And that's fine. That's totally fine. But it had two major problems. One, it was allergic to color.
That was part of the era. I mean, that
Yeah.
wasn't just Turtles. That was just that early 2000s.
Mm-hmm. And two, it seemed to be ashamed of mutants. Like, it was really self-conscious about the animal mutants. Because in the entire series, if you take the standpoint of an animal mutant being an animal or a person transformed into a half-human, half-animal hybrid via mutation, and not through magic or other sorts of, hoojibs, you've got 6 in the entire series up to Turtles Forever. 6.
5 of them are your main cast.
Yep. The Turtles, Splinter, and Leatherhead. I don't count the Undercity mutants because they are not specific animals. The insect
Makes for a crappy toy line too.
Oh yeah, because all of your bad guys are beige, are white dudes wearing beige overcoats. So
they just don't. I don't remember there being many villains in the toy line. You just had endless iterations of the Turtles, which is par for the course. But Ninja Turtles is one of those lines that always actually did really well by having a lot of villains on hand.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they would make figures of characters like Agent Bishop, who is like, oh, hey, it's a guy from Men in Black. Or, exciting, Man in a Suit.
Yay.
And then
those always sell well.
And then there was their sort of Utrom, handler. I forget his name, but he got an action figure, and he was white dude in a beige trench coat. Because they didn't even do like a removable chest Utrom slug thing on him. And they would have villains from time to time, but it wasn't common. And the big problem was in the show, all your bad guys were human. And to this date, there is nothing Hun did in that show that could not have been accomplished by a giant mutant badger. Hun, I don't like 2000s era Hun. I like new I'm asshole Bruce Lee Hun. That's fine.
He works fine as a minor character.
Yeah. But
although the purple dragon's relation to the foot is so weird.
Yeah,
But go on. Yeah.
That's something that is actually better in the 2000s era because they established that the purple dragons are basically foot tryouts. If you survive being a purple dragon long enough, you get to join the foot.
These are the purple dragons of this are just kind of generic, 3 generic schmucks led by a guy who sometimes works for Shredder.
Independent contractor. Sometimes they work for Shredder, sometimes they wind up in a Big Trouble in Little China parody. It works out. But
at any rate.
But yeah, like the original, the 2000 era series, they didn't introduce much in the way of mutants, and when they did wind up getting, like, say, aliens, because Triceratons.
Yeah.
They clung so tightly to the original source material that all of your Triceraton characters were visibly pretty much interchangeable. Again, that's not great for your marketing people, and it's not terribly fun.
Yeah, jeez. And I'm sitting there going, the old comics were not, super mutant heavy, but
But you did
it was
have
certainly a
things like,
variety of form.
yeah, you had things like you had Bloodsucker,
Yeah, I
and
was gonna say he probably wouldn't work too well in a
yeah,
even tangentially kid-aimed cartoon, but well, maybe this one.
yeah, well, yeah, this one went well. They actually did a version of the River story just without Bloodsucker in the
Hmm.
2000s.
Well, the
Um,
only thing I really remember him is from when they teamed up with their, because of course there was a magic Native American who was stopping a white guy from taking land.
yeah, that was part of the River story
Yeah,
from the comics. They just took out the interesting part with the horrible mutant.
yeah,
Um, yeah. I mean, we are talking about black and white comics made by two white dudes in the 1980s.
yeah.
Uh, expecting things to
Oh
the
yeah, I'm
magical
not.
Native
I wasn't
American is
expecting it. I mean, it's
yeah,
par for the course.
yeah, it's that was a stock trope and it wasn't meant maliciously.
Yeah.
But like the other thing is that the show never wound up delving into a lot of characters that could have been more interesting. They did bring in like their little superhero group, but they didn't bring in the fun superheroes from the black and white comics.
The retired ones.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, they did. They did do
Oh.
them. They just never made toys of them
Hmm. They
because
brought in the little metalhead. Was his name Metalhead?
Metalhead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They wound up doing that storyline eventually.
Hmm.
But
No complete Carnage and Radical, but nobody's touched them because apparently there's rights issues or something.
that's the only thing I can guess because they've never done anything with Carnage. Well, complete Carnage and Radical. I know that there might have been problems with Carnage's name, but Carnage could always be renamed.
Yeah. I
But
mean, you could even rename Radical.
yeah, both of
It
them.
wouldn't be as cool, but
Yeah, but like one of the things that I found is like there's a certain amount of crazy that you're supposed to expect the moment you hear the name of that series.
yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's no going back to sane once you've been through the theme song. So really, I don't know why they were so ashamed of giving us, mutant animal villains, especially since those would have sold well as action figures, and that's what keeps you on the television. They lucked
I'm
out that they came out at this perfect time for the product that they made. If they'd been off a couple of years, it might not have gone very well.
I'm thinking it's just the era because remember that was around the same time we had the tan and brown He-Man revival that didn't fly.
Yeah, yeah, there was a lot of that.
That took itself really really seriously, which is not how you handle fucking He-Man.
Or Ninja Turtles.
No. Some things you embrace the silly. You don't need to go filmation flaming gay. I'm sorry. No, that was
Oh no, like there's
that is actually fact.
yeah, no, that wasn't that was text.
Yeah, there was no sub to that text.
Yeah, just plain text.
And and of course, old E-Man was hamstrung by not being sure how much they could get away with as far as action goes, because it
Mhm.
was like the first advertainment tune, and people were very.
Yeah, He-Man never
Whatsoever.
uses his sword on anything other than robots.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, blasters. I don't even remember being. I mean, everybody shot blasters, but nobody even came close to hitting each other.
oh well, I'll get you with my stun ray. That was actually commonly used was the stun ray.
Yeah.
Um
But I mean, it was. They were clearly hamstrung by the idea that they didn't know how much they could get away with, so they had to be cartoony
and goofy and fun.
yeah. And then shows like Transformers and GI Joe came along, which could push the violence boundaries further.
Mhm. But yeah,
But no, He-Man, Ninja Turtles. You don't have to be goofy ass. You don't have to be pure comedy. But you can't be too serious.
oh
It,
yeah.
it doesn't work.
And for the 2000s era Ninja Turtle stuff, it just in a lot of cases it just comes across as just sort of missed potential.
I couldn't bring myself to get into it. It just seemed I don't want to say joyless, but it definitely didn't strike me as
It wasn't having as much fun as it should have.
no.
But
No.
I think I can sum up my entire my sort of disappointment with the series. And mind you, I did watch all of it, including the seasons where they get magical powers and it goes all Dragon Ball, and the seasons where they go into computers, and the seasons in the future. I watched every episode of that series. So you can tell I was having at least some fun.
Yeah.
But I can sum up my disappointment or my sort of complaint with the series in two villains. Touch and Go. Touch and Go were a pair of assassins hired by Hun to go kill the Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come, what they do is they do the Wonder Twin powers thing, and Touch becomes super strong, and Go becomes super fast. Cool, right?
Yeah, not great name, but go ahead.
Well, you know, it's
I mean, I get what they were going for, but you know.
yeah, Mr. Touch and Mr. Go.
Yeah.
But the problem is that they're just people in suits, not like super villain suits. Like Mr. Go wears a white suit, like just a white 3-piece suit, and Mr. Touch looks like Muggsy from the old, Looney Tunes cartoons. Sweater, big tough guy, likes to punch things.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're not terribly, and I'm sitting there going, you could have accomplished this exact same thing with a mutant cheetah and a mutant hippopotamus.
Mm-hmm.
Or, a muskox or anything big and scary. Bulldog, yeah. Just make him frickin', the Muggsy dog. Just, up on all fours. The problem is that episode with Touch and Go was pretty good. I liked it. I might have bought action figures. There weren't action figures because the villains were just dudes in suits.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much anytime you see a cartoon-based toy line and they try and put out dudes in suits as a bad guy figure, hello, shelf warmer.
Yeah, no, your villains.
Christ, we've still got Generator Rex figures at some of the stores, at some of the closeout stores around here.
Yeah, I actually watched some Generator Rex. Boys,
I remember that lasting about 2 months at Target.
Yeah, no. Generator Rex wasn't a bad show. It just it didn't establish its premise very well. Like it was kind of hard to pick up, especially if you came in on an episode other than episode 1. But the guys in suits make for kind of boring supervillains.
Yeah, there's a reason they haven't done the Krang in suit form.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's boring.
Yeah, except as Mega Bloks figures and stuff like that. But
something you can crank out cheap.
Yeah.
Which on that note, it really kind of bugs me. There's no decent normal Donnie figure available in the Mega Bloks line.
Yeah, that is irritating. I've had to settle for my Hard Eyes Donnie.
Yeah, I didn't want that one just because that was one of the things about Turtles that is always kind of... I mean, okay, the idea of Donnie having a crush on April was cute and kind of interesting, and then the series just wouldn't let it go, and it got creepy.
Right. The series reached a point where they either had to drop it or, get off the... they either had to shit or get off the toilet.
Pot. Yeah.
And they decided to just sit there. And so it went creepy. If he had gotten over it, or if they had decided to, you know what, this is something I think that they need more of in just stuff. Not just cartoons, but just stuff. Have two characters do that, date for a couple of weeks, figure out it's not really working, and just go back to being friends.
Yeah.
And just show that it's okay.
And just have her like, okay, you know what? My life is completely fucked up. I'm apparently part alien. I'm psychic. I hang out in the sewer with 4 turtles and a mutated rat. My best friend was an alien. You know what? Screw it.
Yeah.
Let's give it a try. And then if they find out that, yeah.
Yeah, find out it doesn't work, you just move on. You know,
Whether or not that's something Nick would allow, questionable, but
I, I gotta wonder about the about how broadcast standards and practices handles interspecies dating.
it's not something that comes up very often, is it?
Well, it depends on the show.
Well, I mean, in this one, well, I mean, it works. It works for others because, I mean, let's face it, a mutant turtle and a space lizard might as well be. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
they're not human. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's the implication of a human being and an animal person. But yeah, that's sort of my summation of my thoughts on the 2000s era Turtles. Is it needed to be brighter? They needed to take a little bit more chances. And even if you're not going to bring in mutant animals, then do more with people from Usagi Yojimbo's universe or other
Weird up your humans a little.
Weird up your humans, give them some power armor or some weird costumes and stuff.
Yeah.
Vary it up. I mean, I appreciate that they made a Silver Century figure, but even as superhero figures go, that design was really colorless and bland.
Yeah, I just remember looking at that and going, that's just kind of the generic superhero that any, their XP Superman.
What it
everybody uses.
Silver Century was kind of like, you remember those toys that we would get as kids where you'd have the little plates that you would put in different combinations, you'd rub the crayon over the paper?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, he reminds me of the type of superhero you would put together with one of those things.
Yeah. He wouldn't look out of place next to the, have you seen Phelan's Miracle in Toyland review?
Yeah, Miracle in Toyland.
He looks like something out of the generic superhero that...
Looks like he should be on the cover of a copy of the Champions RPG.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, this is praising with faint damnation. Both shows are extremely watchable, even at their incredibly odd lengths.
Yeah.
And I mean, in some cases, it wasn't entirely the people from the cartoon that were holding things back, because when they did their Turtles in Time thing and went to the future, they still didn't wind up making action figures of very many of the characters. And that environment was full of crazy aliens and shit.
Was there even a toy line at that time?
Oh yeah, they made.
I don't seem to remember one.
They made at least all the turtles and all of the mutated clone turtles.
Okay.
Main villain from that time period samples their DNA, hybrids it with aliens, and makes a bunch of mutant horrors. Which eventually turn around, get kind of lured away from evil, but then they don't do anything with them past that. Because having another group of turtles just hanging out would just be weird, apparently. It's like... But, the one thing that I do think is, I think I figured out one of the secrets of the Ninja Turtles franchise. And it's the fact that they've got the black and white comics. That is the perfect secret weapon. And I'll tell you why.
Let's hear it.
You latch onto whatever version of Ninja Turtles you first get exposed to when you're a kid. Either Fred Wolf or 2000 or Nicktoons or the movies or whatever. And then you reach the point where you're getting to be a teenager.
Little too old for it.
A little too old for it. And it feels childish, but you don't want to let it go, because most of the time we don't really want to let that stuff go, at least a certain percentage of us.
Nah.
So, the Mirage comics give you an excuse to still be into Ninja Turtles. Because there you can go, well, these are, a clever parody of classic comics, or they're gritty.
They're dark and gritty.
They're dark and gritty, or they're dramatic and weird, and you can kind of justify them because they weren't comics written for kids. And you can
buy them in a big paperback.
Yeah, you can buy them in a nice big paperback you can put on your bookshelf, You know, there's a lot of little side comics to read. It's a whole big thing. So your fandom can hide there and hang out in Mirage until such time as you mature to the point that you don't give a shit what other people think. And then you latch on to either the Turtles you grew up with again, or whatever new incarnation of the Turtles has come out that's like what you grew up with again, but cooler and better animated.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's a glorious time. Which I don't think too many people are really too many generations are going to have anymore.
yeah, as it's,
That,
well, at least not this one. I mean, we don't know where the pendulum will swing in the future, but...
I think by this point we've got enough people from our generation who are professionals
mm-hmm.
putting out stuff that they know goes all ages that
Oh, yeah, no.
yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, unless things go catastrophic, which, give it 3 months, it might.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I think, I think that's kind of going to be. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of pressure to grow up and get out of toy. I mean, toys are probably always going to be a bit of a risky keep it to the under 10 crowd.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, once you hit teenagery, that's when it's time for video games. Now, those video games may be Pokemon, but they're still video games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we may have seen the beginning of the end of what's the word? How
The
to
sort of
put it?
arbitrary segmenting of
You're too old for
you're
this.
too old for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially since, I mean, everybody, like, when we grew up, the people who were making our cartoons were, in large part, people who could not get work elsewhere.
And we're largely indifferent to the content of what they were putting out.
Right. Now, people fight over the right to make cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, and the other thing is they realize that there are so many choices now that if the parents find your show annoying and there's nothing there for them to enjoy, they will make the kids move to a different show.
Yep.
And so every show has to be written for kids and adults. Which,
at least on some
level. Which is why I think, this is what I think is the sort of reason that stoners find cartoons so amazingly fun. Because when you're stoned, you enjoy it on both levels simultaneously.
Or you're just so dull that things like Adult Swim seem funny.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've ever been that out of it. I mean, not the stuff like that, where stuff on Adult Swim that was not funny already. Because, there are a couple of things. I mean, Venture Brothers is very good.
Oh, yeah.
If they could just give them all the money so they could actually get things out on time, that would just be wonderful.
Still going?
We don't need
still
more Squidbillies or whatever.
No.
If that gets us 5 minutes of Venture Brothers faster, yeah.
Squidbillies can burn in hell.
But and even then, I mean, your stuff that's even that stuff's improved. Not the stuff that's on Adult Swim, but all the stuff that's stealing Adult Swim's lunch. Like Archer.
Yeah, Bob's Burgers.
Archer, Bob's Burgers. These are legitimately very funny.
BoJack Horseman.
BoJack Horseman. Oh man, BoJack Horseman is a trip. It's like, I think like Nash was at one time talking about BoJack Horseman. He's talking about how on Rick and Morty, the show always tries to pull back and show some redeeming element to Rick or so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And with BoJack Horseman, it's just a tire fire most of the time. It's just like BoJack makes those mistakes and then doesn't ever not make the mistake. But the show is very much no, BoJack's a bad person. There's actually one episode that really struck me as being particularly poignant, because in one of the episodes they follow the B cast, They follow all the antagonists of the main characters, their rivals and so forth, instead of the A-cast. And in that segment, one of the two of them are like one of Bojack's people is fighting with her rival to try and represent a particular client.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of following Princess, the cat lady that Bojack dates sometimes, you follow her rival, who is a human celebrity manager, and she's talking with one of her coworkers, and they're like trying to get everything together, and it's like this whole thing. They're trying to save the agency, and he looks at her and goes, "Don't worry, this will work out. Remember, we're the good guys here."
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, they do a lot of underhanded stuff, but as you watch the episode, yes, it turns out for them, they get their version of events is sort of the TV show version, where it works out fine for everybody in the end, and there's a laugh out and all that. And you're like, oh shit, these people are the good guys. And that means that we haven't been following the good guys this whole time. And I thought that was a fun little twist.
Well, now that I think about it, I wouldn't mind seeing a version of Turtles that didn't have to play by the kid rules.
Like resetting to 0 and tying things up.
Yeah. Going the status quo.
Yep.
And maybe a smidge, and maybe being able to actually kill people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying buckets of blood, but
consequences.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing an aged up Turtles beyond, just the fact that let's bounce Splinter across 16 different I-beams on a 4,000-foot fall.
Yeah. And, I mean, I understand what they were probably going for, because you can pretty much drop a rat from any height and they will not die. But
yeah, but
that has to do with them being teeny tiny.
Yeah.
They don't have enough mass to get enough impact going for their size.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I think we've probably recorded about 45 minutes worth. I think this is pretty good.
I don't have much more to say about Turtles.
Yep. I do like it, though.
It will be interesting to see where it goes from here, because the Nick thing can't go forever.
Yep.
Eventually, it has to reboot.
Yeah. I mean, the next one will be a Nickelodeon production, because they bought the whole thing lock, stock, and barrel.
Sure.
But yeah, they're eventually going to have to reboot. Although at this rate, they may be to season 7 before they do that, which is really the only thing I can think of that's run that long of that type is the original Ninja Turtles cartoon. Because that thing ran for frickin' ever.
Yeah. It just got weirder and weirder. Which is saying something.
Yeah,
it didn't get better, but it certainly got weirder.
Those Red Sky seasons are really strange. They would have been interesting to see what would have happened if they'd had money.
They did pull from Red Sky, didn't they, already?
Yeah, Lord Dreg
Yeah.
is from Red Sky. And inevitably, the Velociraptor Raphael thing happens pretty much in every continuity if you last long enough. It's like the Poe's Law of Ninja Turtles. But it's like the longer a Ninja Turtle series goes, the likelihood of Raphael mutating into a Velociraptor thing increases exponentially.
Velociraptor?
Yep.
If nobody has ever, if no series has ever actually called him that one, I will be severely disappointed. I'm about to be severely disappointed.
Yeah, you're about to be severely disappointed.
Okay, it should be Velociraptor.
Oh man. And now I just realized that what they should have done for the mutated alien turtles in the Fast Forward season was they should have made them the advanced mutation turtles that were planned for the movies. I don't know if you remember that.
I have the dimmest of recollections.
Before Ninja Turtles 3 became that ridiculous time travel thing to ancient Japan made on no money, they were planning a movie where the mutagen was going to go unstable and it was going to advance their mutations, which is where you get Velociraptor.
Yeah.
This Raphael becomes beast-like, in response to his rage. Michelangelo gains the ability to cloak himself in a sort of a psychic illusion to make himself appear human. Donatello was going to become telepathic and telekinetic, but slowly lose his sight. And I forget what they did with Leonardo.
Something boring. Leo's always boring.
I think Leonardo might have gotten something weird, like the ability to like turn his skin metal or something. And Splinter was going to mutate into have the ability to transform into a bat form.
Huh.
And but that movie never came together. There was a lot of production art for it, but that would have been an interesting set of things.
The costuming would have been, the costuming would have been ridiculous budget-wise.
Oh yeah, it would have been like they would have had like a different mutant, like a whole different costume for each mutant. It would have been like doubling the size of their cast.
Yeah.
But having those features be in the mutated evil turtle clones would have actually been kind of interesting. Like telekinetic Donatello clone, beastie horrible Raphael clone, which is basically what the Raphael clone was. To be fair, give.
It'd be interesting to see if Nick uses that.
Nick did the frickin' Dream Beavers based on the Terror Bears.
Yeah.
It's all out there. It's all possible.
Let's see him bring in Kirby, the fifth turtle. Let's see him bring in Kirby.
Yeah. Well,
I dare them.
I was actually kind of shocked that Raphael's pet turtle wasn't named Kirby.
Yeah. Okay, and I also dare them to do this. Bring us Venus de Milo. Come on. Mm-hmm. Come on, Nick. Come on, Nick Turtles. Come on.
That's the thing. They already use that name. They'd have to use.
When did they use it?
No, wait. They Mona Lisa. That was. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's something different. I'm talking.
I was thinking the first time they tried to make a female mutant turtle.
Yeah. And she became a lizard.
Yeah. Except it happened so late in production that if you actually manage to get a hold of one of her action figures, she has a shell. I mean, she's super difficult to find, but
yeah, she's one of those like the Cat Burglar and all that.
Mm-hmm. She was
really
from
late ones.
One from that wave, and she's a female character that I think was short packed, and she's heavily in demand because she was like the only canon girlfriend Raphael had for a long time. All right, well, we will see you soon. Thanks for tuning in. And good night and good luck.
Toitles. Toitles.
Toitles.
Toitles. Toitles, 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 we made you out of clay.
All right, I'm stopping it now.
Hey, Pipples, if you liked our nonsense, why don't give us a like or a subscribe or leave a comment down there somewhere.
You can also do us a big solid by joining our Patreon, where you'll get to join us for live streams, get early access to the newest videos, and other such things.
Geek Vision.